Have you ever caught yourself thinking, someone will help me, something will change, somehow life will fix itself? It's a quiet thought, one that hides behind the noise of daily life. But it's there, lurking in the background, feeding a dangerous illusion. Let's be honest, most people live their lives waiting for someone to notice their pain, waiting for someone to believe in them, waiting for someone to show up and rescue them from the storm they've been stuck in for years. But here's the cold truth. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your partner, not the government, not some future version of yourself with more motivation. No one. And that truth hits like a slap to the face. But sometimes that's exactly what's needed. Because for far too long, you've been sold the lie that help is just around the corner. That life will eventually hand you a breakthrough. That if you just wait long enough, things will magically get better. But here's the reality most people run from. Waiting is the enemy. Life doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who move. It rewards those who take action when they feel empty. It rewards those who choose to fight, even when they're tired of fighting. That's not what the world tells you, though, is it? The world tells you to stay positive. 2, trust the process. 2, be patient. But how long are you going to keep waiting for someone to hand you the life you want? Because here's what's really happening while you wait, time is slipping. Opportunities are dying. And the gap between who you are and who you could be is growing wider every day. You want motivation. Here it is, no one is coming. No one is going to carry your pain for you. No one is going to build your dream for you. No one is going to force you out of bed when you're tired and broken. That's your job. And whether you do it or not determines everything. You see, most people don't need more comfort. They need clarity. They need to hear this truth out loud. Because once you truly understand that no help is coming, a strange thing happens. You stop looking around and you start looking within. That's where the shift begins. When you stop hoping for a savior and decide to become your own. Because here's what no one tells you. Once you stop expecting others to save you, you unlock real power. You begin to move different. You speak with purpose. You carry yourself with fire. You no longer wait for motivation because you've built discipline. That's when life starts to change. Not instantly, but definitely. And if you're still watching, let me promise you something. If you stay with this message until the end of the video, you'll walk away with a truth that will stick to your bones, a mindset that will wake you up every morning with clarity and fuel, a fire that you won't need to borrow from others because it will be burning from within. But it starts right here, with this moment. With this one truth, no one is coming to save you. And that's not something to fear. That's something to use, something to own. Because if no one is coming, then everything is up to you. And that means everything is possible. So many people waste years trapped in a waiting room that doesn't lead anywhere. They sit on the sidelines of their own life, quietly hoping that someone will walk in and change everything, that someone will offer the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect motivation, that someday, somehow, things will just shift, but that day never comes because it was never real. That feeling of rescue we chase, it's an illusion, a psychological comfort blanket we wrap around ourselves when life gets too hard to face head on. We've been trained to believe in it since childhood. When we fell, someone picked us up. When we cried, someone came running. When things broke, someone fixed them. So naturally, as adults, we carry the same mindset. If I just hold on long enough, something or someone will save me. But the truth is, adulthood is the moment the rescue ends. No one's watching your every move. No one's checking to make sure you're chasing your goals. No one's staying up late, worrying about your potential the way you should be. And here's where human psychology plays a cruel trick on us, because the mind seeks comfort. It seeks safety. It seeks the familiar. And what's more comforting than the fantasy that help is coming? The idea that you don't have to struggle alone. The hope that someone else will lift the burden. The belief that maybe, just maybe, the universe owes you a break. But the harsh truth is, it doesn't. The universe doesn't owe you clarity. It doesn't owe you happiness. It doesn't owe you success. All of that is earned. There's a quiet war happening inside every person. The war between the part of you that wants to rise and the part of you that wants to stay comfortable. The illusion of rescue feeds the second part. It tells you to stay still, to keep waiting, to not take risks because help is coming. But what if you stopped believing that lie? What if you accepted that no one is coming? And that's a gift. Because when you let go of the fantasy, you take back the steering wheel. Suddenly, you're not waiting for luck. You're creating momentum. You're not waiting to be chosen. You're choosing yourself. You're not wishing for a better life. You're building one. And yes, that path is harder. It's lonelier. It's uncertain, but it's real. And what's real will always outlast what's comfortable. Think about this. How many dreams have died while waiting for permission? How many people went to their graves never realizing they were the answer they were waiting for? That's the danger of the rescue fantasy. It steals time. It delays action. It buries potential. Your mind will fight this truth. It will try to convince you to hold on a little longer. That maybe next week will be different. That maybe next year things will align. But deep down, you already know that waiting has never served you. That hope without action is just another excuse. And here's something else most people never understand: rescue doesn't even feel the way you think it will. Even if someone did show up to help you, even if life did hand you a break, if you haven't grown, if you haven't built the strength, you'll fall right back into the same place. Because external help can't fix an internal problem. No one can save you from the choices you refuse to make. No one can do the push-ups for you. No one can think for you, fight for you, sacrifice for you. You have to do it yourself. And when you do, when you finally stop looking outward and start looking inward, everything changes. You become dangerous, focused, unstoppable. Because the person who stops waiting is the person who starts building. And once you start building, you realize you never needed saving. You just needed to wake up. And now you are. You don't need a rescue. You need a reason, a vision, a fire. And that doesn't come from outside. It's already inside you. It just needed the truth to awaken it. No one is coming to save you. But once you stop waiting, you'll realize you were the one you were waiting for all along. If you trace it back, the idea that someone will save you didn't start yesterday. It was planted deep, long ago, when you were still learning how the world works. When you didn't yet understand what real responsibility meant. That seed was watered every time someone picked you up after you fell. Every time someone told you it would be okay, even when it wasn't. Every time someone made the hard decisions for you. That's not a bad thing. That's how children survive. But the problem is, no one ever told you when to stop thinking like that. You grew up, but no one taught you to let go of the dependency. No one sat you down and said, "You're on your own now. It's all up to you." So you carried that mindset into adulthood, silently waiting for a hand to reach down and pull you out of the fire. But life doesn't work like childhood. Out here, there are no guarantees, no safety nets, no one tucking you in with promises that tomorrow will be better. And yet, most people are still stuck with the emotional blueprint of a child, looking for someone to validate their worth, looking for someone to tell them what to do, looking for someone to fix the mess they made. But no one is coming. This isn't a fairy tale. You're not the main character in a story where a hero appears in the final act. This is real life, and you are both the problem and the solution. The truth is, your mind was shaped in a world that doesn't exist anymore. A world where you were told that life was fair, that good things come to good people, that hard work always pays off. But life doesn't reward you based on how much you deserve. It rewards you based on how much you demand from yourself. And when you're still thinking like a child, hoping for comfort, ease, and rescue, you surrender your power before the fight even begins. This is where the shift must happen. You must retrain your mind, rewire the belief that someone else will make your life better. Because they won't. You have to unlearn the idea that life is supposed to feel good all the time. You have to break the belief that struggle means something is wrong. Because in the adult world, struggle is the path, pain is the price, and growth never comes without it. Think about this. When you were a child, you were told what to do, what time to eat, where to go, how to think. And part of you got used to that. It became comfortable. Someone else was in charge. Someone else held the weight of decision making. But now it's your life, your consequences, your future. And if you're still expecting someone to show up and give you a map, you're going to be lost forever. This is the cost of freedom. You don't get the life you want by default. You get it by becoming the person who can build it, by shedding the old skin, by killing the childlike part of you that still thinks someone else will carry the load. It's hard. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary because there's a version of you that's waiting to be born, and it's not soft. It doesn't beg. It doesn't wait. It creates. That version of you is disciplined. It takes ownership. It doesn't need motivation. It moves anyway. It doesn't need approval. It acts anyway. It doesn't need rescue because it understands rescue was a lie. Every time you choose to act instead of wait, every time you push forward instead of fold, every time you own your decisions instead of blaming others, you are reprogramming your mind. You are killing the weakness that was conditioned into you. And that's the only way to win. Not by being saved, but by becoming so powerful that you never need to be saved again. You weren't meant to live your life as someone waiting for a hero. You were meant to become the hero you once dreamed would come. That transformation starts with facing what you were taught and choosing to break it, to rise above it, to replace it with truth, action, and discipline. Because the life you want doesn't respond to hope, it responds to ownership. And ownership begins when you stop thinking like a child and start thinking like a warrior. No one is coming to rescue you. That was a story told to keep you soft. But you're not here to stay soft. You're here to become unbreakable. There comes a moment when the excuses no longer work, when the lies you've been telling yourself start to crumble, when all the stories you've built about how things will magically get better collapse under their own weight. That moment is brutal, but it's also the beginning of truth, because once the illusion is gone, all you're left with is reality, and reality is cold, unforgiving, relentless. It doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care how much you've been through. It doesn't care about your intentions. It only responds to one thing: action. You either do the work or you don't. You either change or you stay stuck. You either rise or you rot. That's the line. That's the truth. And for most people, it's too much to handle. So they hide, they scroll, they complain. They drown themselves in distractions, hoping to delay the one thing they're afraid of the most, facing themselves. But every second you spend avoiding the truth, the cost gets higher. Because while you're standing still, life keeps moving. Time doesn't pause for your pain. It doesn't rewind for your regret. It moves forward with or without you. You're not running out of excuses. You're running out of time. That's the harsh reality. The future you keep dreaming about, it doesn't exist unless you build it. It doesn't arrive on its own. It doesn't appear because you want it badly enough. It shows up only when you force it into existence through action, effort, and sacrifice. And here's where most people break. They realize what it really takes to change, and they decide it's too much. They return to comfort, to safety, to the illusion, and they live the rest of their lives in silent frustration, knowing deep down they never really tried. Don't let that be your story. You have to understand something most never do. There is no perfect time. There is no right moment. The stars won't align. The fear won't disappear. The path won't become easier. You move anyway. You build anyway. You act while you're afraid. That's the price of growth. Waiting is a form of self-destruction, because the longer you wait, the heavier the weight becomes. The weight of regret, the weight of wasted potential, the weight of knowing you could have done more, but didn't. In that pain, it stays, it haunts, it eats away at the part of you that knows you were meant for more. This is your wake-up call, not the kind you hit snooze on, the kind that rips the blanket off and forces you to see what you've been avoiding. No one is going to knock on your door and hand you discipline. No one is going to force you to do the hard work. No one is going to beg you to step into your greatness. That's your job. And every day you delay is a day you'll never get back. You're not behind because you failed. You're behind because you kept waiting for life to be fair. You kept believing the lie that struggle meant stop. That failure meant it wasn't meant for you. That discomfort was a sign to back off. But discomfort isn't a warning. It's a signal. A sign that you're touching something real, that you're close to a breakthrough. And the ones who push through it, they don't just change their lives, they rebuild themselves from the inside out. You have to stop measuring your life by how you feel. Start measuring it by what you do, because actions shape reality. And if you want a new reality, it starts with doing the things most people avoid: the early mornings, the late nights, the lonely hours, the hard conversations, the relentless work that no one applauds, but everything depends on. This is the truth that most people won't tell you, because it's not pretty, it's not soft, it's not easy to hear, but it's real, and real is what changes lives. No more waiting, no more hoping, no more pretending. Face the mirror, feel the fire, and understand this. The life you want is waiting on the other side of the work you keep avoiding, and no one else can cross that line for you. Not tomorrow, not next year. Now, this is your reality check. It's not too late, but it will be. If you keep living like you have time, when life gets heavy, when things go wrong, when people disappoint you, when everything feels like it's falling apart, there's a voice that creeps in quietly. It whispers, "This isn't your fault. You've been treated unfairly. You're doing your best, but the world just won't give you a break." And it feels good to listen to that voice, because it takes the weight off your shoulders. It gives you permission to stay where you are. It gives you something to blame. That's the trap of victim mentality. It tells you that you're powerless. It convinces you that the problem is out there, in the system, in your past, in other people. And as long as the problem is outside you, you never have to change. You never have to take responsibility. You never have to face the brutal truth that your life is where it is because of what you accept. But here's the price. Every time you embrace that mindset, you give away your power. You shrink. You make yourself small. You convince yourself that life is something that happens to you instead of something you can shape. Yes, life can be cruel. Yes, people can hurt you. Yes, you faced unfair situations, maybe more than most. But victimhood is not about what happened to you. It's about what you choose to believe afterward. You don't get to choose your past, but you do get to choose your perspective. You get to decide whether your story becomes a reason to break or a reason to rise. Victim mentality feels like safety, but it's a prison, because the moment you label yourself powerless, you stop looking for solutions. You stop asking better questions. You stop pushing forward, and instead you sit still, waiting for the world to change before you do. But what if the world never changes? What if the help you're waiting for never comes? What if the apology you think you deserve never arrives? What then? Will you spend the rest of your life anchored to pain you didn't choose? Will you keep living under a label that strips away your potential? Because here's the truth, you can't control what broke you. But you can control whether you stay broken. You can't undo the past, but you can decide whether it defines you or refines you. There's nothing empowering about saying, "I can't move forward until someone else fixes me." There's nothing strong about giving your entire life story to pain and anger. Real strength begins the moment you stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership. When you look in the mirror and say, "It may not be my fault, but it is my responsibility." That mindset is rare. Most people never get there because blame is easy. Blame feels good in the short term. It gives you a reason to stop trying. But here's the hidden cost: blame never changes your life. It just explains why it's not changing. You have to be bold enough to ask yourself, am I really stuck? Or have I just chosen to stay where it's comfortable to complain? Because growth doesn't happen in blame. It happens in responsibility. It happens when you take full control of what you can do right here, right now. And that control starts small. It starts with the decision to rise even when you feel tired, to take action even when you're uncertain, to speak truth to yourself even when it hurts. No more waiting for someone to come fix your life. No more hoping your past will heal itself. No more telling yourself that you're stuck because the world is unfair. Yes, the world is unfair. But you don't get stronger by waiting for fairness. You get stronger by moving forward in spite of the unfairness. That's where greatness is born. In the decision to refuse victimhood, to stop living in reaction and start living in creation. Because the truth is simple, you're not a victim. You're a creator. You have the power to build, to change, to rise. But not if you keep clinging to the idea that you're powerless. The moment you drop that belief, the second you stop feeding that lie, you begin to wake up. You begin to see that even if the world gave you every reason to give up, you still have every reason to keep going, because power lives in choice. And today, you choose victim or victor. But you can't be both. Taking responsibility for your life is the hardest thing you will ever do. It's easier to blame others, to find excuses, to claim that circumstances are against you. But that path leads only to frustration, disappointment, and a life half-lived. Responsibility is freedom disguised as a heavy burden. It's freedom because once you own your choices, you no longer wait for anyone. You become the driver, not a passenger. You create your future, instead of hoping someone will deliver it to you. Think about this. Every successful person you admire, every story of triumph you've ever heard, they all have one thing in common. They took responsibility. They stopped waiting for miracles. They stopped blaming their past, their upbringing, or the world around them. They took ownership of their mindset, their actions, and their results. This is a game changer. Responsibility isn't about guilt or punishment. It's about power. When you accept responsibility, you accept control. You understand that no matter how tough the situation, you have the ability to respond differently. And that response creates everything. It creates your mindset, your habits, your relationships, and ultimately your life. Here's the catchy. Most people never reach this point because responsibility is uncomfortable. It means looking in the mirror and admitting, this is on me. It means accepting that your life is a reflection of your choices. No more blaming the job, the economy, the people, or your background. You become accountable for every outcome. But that accountability is where real change begins. When you stop seeing yourself as a victim, when you realize your future depends on what you do today, you tap into a power few ever discover. Responsibility forces you to get honest. It forces you to cut through the excuses. It forces you to act, even when you don't feel ready, even when you're scared, even when the world seems stacked against you. Because the truth is, no one will care about your dreams as much as you do. No one will fight for your goals as hard as you can. No one will wake up every day willing to do the work except you. This realization is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means you can't run from your life anymore. Liberating because it means you're not powerless. Power doesn't come from comfort. It comes from stepping into discomfort willingly. From owning your mistakes, your failures, and your weaknesses, and still choosing to move forward. Responsibility makes you unstoppable. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It doesn't mean you have to have all the answers right now. It means you refuse to stop searching for them. You don't wait for permission or perfect conditions. You move, learn, adjust, and grow. And that's why the people who succeed aren't the luckiest. They're the ones who refuse to give up responsibility. Who don't wait for rescue, but build their own ladder. Who face their fears head on and decide that nothing will keep them from their purpose. This is the mindset that breaks chains, that shatters ceilings, that turns ordinary people into legends. So ask yourself, are you ready to take full responsibility for your life? Are you ready to stop waiting for rescue and start building your own success? Are you ready to be the leader of your own story? Because that choice is yours every single day. And it will define everything about your future. Responsibility is the fuel that powers the journey. Without it, you wander aimlessly. With it, you become unstoppable. Own your power. Own your life. No one is coming to save you, but that means you have the power to save yourself. Responsibility is the foundation, but without mental toughness, it won't carry you far. Mental toughness is what separates those who give up from those who keep going. It's the invisible strength that pushes you through when everything inside you screams to quit. It's the silent voice that says, keep moving, even when the road is dark and uncertain. Mental toughness doesn't mean you never feel pain or fear. It means you don't let those feelings control you. It means learning how to face discomfort head on and keep walking forward. Because growth never happens in comfort zones. It happens when you stretch beyond what feels safe. Imagine your mind as a muscle. The more you challenge it, the stronger it gets. Every failure, every setback, every moment of doubt is an opportunity to build resilience, but only if you choose to see it that way. Most people avoid pain, they avoid struggle. They want instant success without the grind. But that's like expecting a tree to grow overnight without roots. Mental toughness is planting those roots. It's digging deep when the surface cracks. It's refusing to be uprooted by storms. The first step to building mental toughness is accepting that life will be hard. Not sometimes, but often. Not maybe, but definitely. Hardships are not obstacles to avoid. They are the training ground for strength. When you stop fighting against reality and start embracing it, your mind changes. You stop being a victim of circumstances. You become a warrior ready to face any challenge. Next, mental toughness is about control. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. You can control your attitude, your effort, and your focus. Choose to be proactive instead of reactive. Don't waste energy on things outside your control. Put every ounce of effort into what you can change, your mindset and actions. This shift alone transforms your life. Building mental toughness also requires discipline. Discipline to show up every day, even when motivation is gone. Discipline to do the hard things, not because they're easy, but because they're necessary. Discipline to push past excuses, distractions, and fear. This kind of discipline is rare because it asks for sacrifice. It asks you to put your goals above comfort, above temporary pleasure, above the easy path. But that sacrifice leads to freedom. Freedom from self-doubt, freedom from waiting on others, freedom to live life on your terms. Another key to mental toughness is managing your thoughts. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Negative thoughts, doubts, and fears can paralyze you. But when you train your mind to focus on solutions, progress, and possibilities, you unlock incredible power. Practice recognizing when your thoughts turn against you. Catch the stories of failure and replace them with truths of strength. Remind yourself of what you've overcome, not what's holding you back. Mental toughness grows every time you push through discomfort. Every time you say no to giving up. Every time you keep going even when it's hard. It's a muscle you build through repeated action, day after day. Finally, remember this: mental toughness is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about getting back up again and again, no matter how many times you fall. It's about refusing to let pain define you. The path you walk won't be easy, but with mental toughness, you become unshakable. You learn to welcome challenges as opportunities. You become the person who doesn't wait for rescue because you have the strength to save yourself. So, choose to build that strength today. Embrace the discomfort. Control your mind. Show up with discipline. And keep moving forward, no matter what. This is how you turn responsibility into power. This is how you become unstoppable. Comfort feels safe. It feels warm and familiar. It's the place where you know the rules, where the risks are low, and where the pain is minimal. But comfort is also the biggest enemy of progress. When you stay inside your comfort zone, you stop growing. You stop learning. You stop becoming the person you're capable of being. Comfort creates a cage disguised as safety that keeps you small and stuck. The problem is, comfort feels good in the moment. It's addictive. It whispers, "Stay here, it's easier." It seduces you with peace and predictability. But it's a lie. The truth is, real life, real success, and real happiness live outside that zone. They live in discomfort. They live in challenge. They live in risk. Growth happens when you step into the unknown, when you risk failure, when you push through fear. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most alive. Were you comfortable then? Or were you pushing yourself, trying something new, taking a risk? Every breakthrough requires a leap, and that leap always feels uncomfortable at first. Breaking free from comfort means changing your relationship with discomfort. Instead of fearing it, you learn to embrace it. You see it as a sign you're moving in the right direction. You understand that discomfort is proof you're growing. The mind is wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. That's natural. But when you only chase pleasure and avoid pain, you limit your potential. You trap yourself in a small version of life. To break free, you have to train your mind. You have to prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. Start small if you need to. Take one step outside your comfort zone every day. Try something that scares you. Speak up when it's easier to stay quiet. Face the things you've been avoiding. Each time you do, you build courage. You build confidence. You build momentum. The biggest growth happens when you push past the fear that holds you back. Fear is a signal, not a stop sign. It tells you you're on the edge of something important. Don't step back. Step forward. Remember, the pain of staying stuck is far worse than the discomfort of change. Regret lives in comfort zones. Regret is the shadow of a life you could have lived if you had dared to be brave. When you break free from comfort, you open doors. Doors to opportunities, experiences, and connections you never imagined. You discover strengths you didn't know you had. You create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling. This doesn't mean discomfort will disappear. You will face fear, failure, and setbacks. But when you build the habit of stepping outside your comfort zone, those challenges lose their power over you. You become someone who is not controlled by fear, but who controls fear. Someone who is not defined by limits, but who pushes beyond them. Someone who doesn't wait for rescue because they are capable of creating their own path. Your comfort zone is a cage. The key to freedom is in your hands. Turn it. Step outside and live the life waiting for you on the other side.